If you are diagnosing a problem in Iris, you'll most likely end up in the troubleshooter. Clicking the name of any graph in Iris will take you through to the troubleshooter. The troubleshooter is a useful tool to consolidate different data sources in a single place. On arrival in the troubleshooter, the graph you've selected is in full format with legend items below, like traffic in and out for the traffic graph with maximum, average, and current megabits per second allocated below. These legend items show you no data spike and down. The default landing page also starts with all related graphs. You can swap these graphs in and out by clicking on their name, and that puts the capacity graph back up there. I'm just going to swap the traffic graph back. You can also zoom in and out on the graph just by dragging, and you'll see that it zooms into the graphs below, and you can reset the graph just like that. There's also some controls up here. This is the time control. You can go and pick the actual date, or you can use one of the presets for 4 hours, today, yesterday, last month, this month, or you can reset the time zone. The default time zone is from now back 24 hours. I'm not going to go through that. I want to look at the troubleshooter menu now. So we've looked at related graphs. If we go down to the configuration menu, because I've chosen an interface, it shows you just the pertinent config for that interface. If we and that pertinent config is just for the time frame that we're looking at. I can show you the full config for the device, the inventory for the device, the raw backup, which you can cut and paste back onto the router, and we can also do some diffs. So if we look at the history, and so I want to see the difference between these two time frames and hit diff, it shows you that we've changed the name on that device. We need to have backups enabled, and for that we'd also need a username, password, and a telnet or SSH access to go and collect that kind of data. Going back to the menu, we can take a look at events. Clicking on that will show you all the events again for the time period selected. A new feature in Iris is if you mouse over these overlays, you'll see the same event as you can see down below, which is a high traffic over 85%. Zooming in to this time frame will also zoom in on just those events. There's actually duplicated events shown on the demo site, but there is only one event over there. Moving to flows on the troubleshooter menu. The flow is also a very useful tool. NetFlow does need to be enabled for this to work. So I'm having a look at the detailed flows, which shows you protocol, source and destination IP based on the direction, and the traffic that's been moved over this time period. You can have a look at the total moved over the time period in and out. You can look at sources, countries, protocols. Clicking on any of these events will take you into the Flow Explorer, which is beyond the scope of this video. The last thing on this menu that I'd like to go through is just some tools. So you've got the ability to run a ping and a trace route, and you can select the Iris polar. In this case, we're polling from demo.irisns.com, and this will show you that this polar has got reachability on your network to that device. One of the questions we often get is, our device is up, but Iris says it's down. It's because we can't see it from this polar. There, this is up perfectly, and if we try troubleshooting also to Google, oops, and I didn't specify the polar, and we submit that, there's your trace sheet showing you the route that we get to that device. Now, sometimes you may need to do real-time troubleshooting on an interface. This is LiveGraph. LiveGraph will let you get data off the interface in these intervals and just get you more data rather than looking at the 5-minute average. LiveGraph doesn't work on our demo, so I won't demo what it does look like, but that option is available. I'm just going to go back to related graphs. We do have some other time controls here. So we can overlay business hours, and this is going to be too short for business hours. Let's reset that zoom. Let's go back for yesterday. And you can see it's grayed out the business hours on the graph, and then this is office hours. Business hours can be defined per interface. and it also gives you the traffic moved in and out over that period of time. And you can do the same thing with peak traffic, total traffic, and put in a trend. Let's just get rid of business hours and put in a trend. This just shows you a trend line over the period for bits per second in and out. It's not going to be very exciting because this is all canned data, but that just shows you the traffic trends. There's also an export to PDF, export to CSV, and then shows you some information. So you've got the interface, the device, the mnemonic in Iris. There should be an IP, but there's isn't a real device. And we get a description in Iris. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the troubleshooter.